everybody, welcome back to You Can't Win, and this is our first guest episode. This is Tom here, as usual, with Don.
Hello.
Yep, and we are joined today by our friend Andy from Sweden, and he is going to tell us a little bit about life in the Betongen.
Oh, hello. Yeah, certainly am.
So, how you doing, Andy?
I'm doing pretty good. I've had a pretty good week so far. Basically, yeah, I was born in I'm from the north of Sweden. I grew up in a place that was not like probably far from the worst place as far as crime and stuff goes, but I still ended up in a lot of situations that that probably wouldn't have happened otherwise, if I hadn't been born where I was born.
Yeah, so when we say the Betongen, that's the Swedish word for, like, how would you translate that? That's sort of like the area you grew up in, right?
Yeah, like Betongen is that means literally means the concrete, and it's a slang word for the projects. So the projects.
Man, no wonder you like Boldy James so much. He talks about that same thing with Detroit.
Oh yeah, concretes.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I feel like I'm also from like an industrial town like Detroit, so like I feel like it resonates with me on that level as well.
So what would be like the population of like that area, like the northern part? Is it just very, very sparsely populated, or is there like an actual city that, like a smaller city or something that people can orient to?
Well, where I live is like we're the main. It's like north of me is like mostly just like small towns, villages, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
South of me, there's basically the same thing for a few miles, like a few hundred miles, I think. But yeah, this is like the main urban sort of center, surrounded by like a lot of rural, towns and villages. The population of like the city itself is probably around, I think, like maybe 70,000.
Okay.
But like the surrounding areas, I don't know, probably somewhere in the low 100 something.
Okay.
All right. So you say it's like an industrial town. So, like you said, it's north, like the north of Sweden. That's really like the north of the world. So I'm thinking you guys are like Santa's workshop over there or something.
Well, hey, yeah, it is. That there is a lot of like, the kind of like stereotypical small places you would expect out here. Like, I go like 2 hours in one direction, and it's just like these picturesque little villages, which is like, it's really beautiful out here, actually, once you get out of the city, which you do very quickly.
Yeah, Finland is really nice like that too. Where my family lives, it's like a rural area. They're in the south of Finland, like most people are, but it's really nice, trees and lakes and all that.
Oh yeah, we've probably seen a lot of the same kind of like nature.
Yeah, you have mountains up there?
Yeah, not really like right here, but yeah, we have. We have Lapland is like not that far away. And that's a lot of mountains and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. I used to go up. It was an interesting thing because I wasn't going up there to see the sights, but but yeah, no, I used to go up this mountain town. is a small town that's like surrounded by these gorge, like this gorgeous mountain view that would always come up when you drive over this certain bridge. But we were just going there to, get some stuff and bring it back down. So I didn't have much time to really to really take it in, but it's real nice.
Yeah. So you're talking about moving stuff around. What are we talking about here?
Oh, no, this town, like North in general, has had a problem with downers in particular. So like, I'm not gonna get into too much specific, but like bringing in a lot of like downers and things like that. Well, sometimes it'd be the uppers too, like, but for some reason I don't know. It's like it's a very sleepy, kind of depressing place, really, when I think about it. Like I think I mentioned, well, I for sure have mentioned that, like, my friend died last year of, is related to drugs, and got a few other ones that are probably going to go the same way, and like pretty shortly. So, and it gives you, it gives me, at least, it gives me this feeling of like, because I was living a life back then where I was dealing with some people that were trafficking in these exact same things that end up like later on. And I mean, I was doing a lot of drugs too. That's the thing. Like, I was probably at my heaviest drug use when I was dealing the most. But
yeah, tends to be the way it goes, I guess.
But I have this feeling of like, why, that guy that died, or that guy that's dying, like, why is that not me? Like, you know what I mean? I think it's called survivor's guilt or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks, dude.
Yeah.
No, it's just, there's nothing to do about it. It's just like, it's an interesting thing, because partially you feel like, did I contribute to this? And then you think of like, man, other people. But it's like, at the same time, I guess to stay sane, I got to think about it like, well, it wasn't me, it would have been somebody else,
Yeah.
And I mean, it's true as well.
Is there a lot of like unemployment in that area? Is that sort of what contributes to all this sort of thing?
Yeah, there is. It was just, in general, there is a sort of like a feeling of outsidership, like when you're from certain parts of a town, like, because they always put the projects at the edge of town. Instead of like in America, they put it in the inner city. But they put it at the edge of town. So already you're like, kind of like, it becomes like a little bit of an isolated community, because you got to have your own like stores and stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to travel in the town, for their day, just, groceries.
Yeah.
And it becomes a lot of like, I mean, a lot of it was like teenager stuff, where it was like, we're bored. We're not old enough to go to the bars yet. So, what people do for fun would be like, find somebody to fight, or, doing all this stuff. But yeah, the unemployment, I mean, I'm relating it to sort of like, from what I've observed, really. I haven't read reports and stuff, but like, it was mainly
trying
like,
to get here.
yeah. No, it was mainly like, it was a lot of broken homes, things like that. Like, I grew up in a household where neither of my parents had graduated from high school, and my mom was a temp teacher. My dad still can't figure out what he's doing, but he hasn't done much. Except he had a band going for a while. That was pretty cool. But,
what kind of band?
Oh no, he's actually a great singer, and like that's the only time I really saw him take to something was he would play like they would play their own like original stuff, but they would play a lot of like like Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Elvis stuff, things like that.
Man, Scandinavians love Elvis.
Oh yeah,
Elvis
my
is
dad
so
in
big in
particular.
Finland.
Oh yeah, for sure. I remember actually as part of this like music thing. Do you guys know the? It's like a cartoon character, the Phantom. He's
I've
got
heard
like
of that.
Yeah.
He's dressed. He's got like a blue, like what would you even call that? It's like from head to toe, but it's got his face. You can see like his face, but he's got these
like a
like
Teletubby.
yeah, kind of. But he's got this mask over face. You really got to see a picture. Anyway, he had to dress up as this character with like bright red, like basically, what would that be? Like briefs.
Okay.
Like a superhero.
Yeah.
Like and because the milk company was doing the milk company. No, but like the major distributor of like milk here was doing a campaign where they had that cartoon character on the packages and whatnot. He would do in-store appearances as the Phantom and play guitar.
That's pretty cool, to be honest.
Yeah. And I have a picture of him, or somebody has a picture of him dressed like that in the store.
Yeah, and you say that's like the one time you saw him really kind of get into whatever he was doing, like.
Oh yeah. I didn't really. I mean, he was. He was like, even before, like, because he got into drugs, like he got into like prescription pills and stuff. And him and my mom separated early, like when I was 7. But he would be like supportive about stuff, but he would always kind of have this mentality of like, don't do anything unless you love it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't even take a shit job because it's just like a waste of your time. It's like overly supportive, kind of.
Okay. Yeah.
Or like maybe too idealistic. I don't know. Well, while my mom would literally say, "You're gonna join the Foreign French Legion."
Yeah.
Like she's like, "You're not doing shit. I'm sending you to the army."
Yeah, that sounds more like my folks.
Yeah.
It's funny, Andy. Like I think my dad was the first person in his family to graduate from high school, and so I think a lot of the sort of like background cultural influences and that kind of thing, like the attitude about work and all this sort of stuff, I feel like I can kind of relate to that, like just knowing that through my dad. I mean, he ended up doing, he did pretty well for himself and stuff. He went to the army and then the government, or the Air Force and then the government, and then we, like me and my brother and my mom, we were all like living a essentially middle class lifestyle, but there was a lot of like certain ways that he would like talk about things or think about things that obviously like influenced me, that I think it kind of comes from that like kind of trailer park style thing.
Oh, definitely. And it's interesting too because he's got like his parents are well off, but
really?
yeah, but they didn't they're the kind of well off people that they're so like particular about talking about money that like, you know, they wouldn't give us anything, like, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's really weird.
Yeah. So he's kind of a fail dad, I guess.
Oh yeah. Oh, he for sure is. Oh man, I talked to. I mean, I didn't talk to him from when I was 12 till I was 18. Because I
Damn.
just decided I was like, I'm not gonna see him anymore. Like,
Mhm.
because I was mad, you know, because of, you know, not having a dad and all this. Basically, I mean, I had him there, kind of, but he was not really of like, from what I saw, he was like not of any real use because I knew people like closer to my age that were actually getting things done.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was not in the traditional sense of getting things, you know, making things better for yourself, but it was at least like, because he would complain a lot about, you know, he was broke, all this stuff, but he would always be like, you know, but I can't really do much about it or whatever. You know, if you find some way to blame it, whereas I was more like, you know, somebody asked me, like, for example, like my friend Fat T, he sold me um like a grocery bag full of cartons of cigarettes for like $20 or something.
Whoa.
And I was like, yeah, I'll take that, because I was like 16, and then I would go sell the cigarettes because everybody was underage. So I would designate some packages to sell loosies. So like you could get like $1 for a loosie, and then a whole pack is 20. I mean, that's enough for like, what's that? That's like 2 packs from like a store. So I don't know. I just made money that way. I think that was like the first time I figured out like you could hustle. Like you could just like, you could really just find something people want and then just find a way to get it to them.
Yeah.
And it was really addictive. Like the way I would do like the numbers in my head and stuff, like
Yeah.
this and this is so much, and that adds up to like how much more I can get, you know?
Yeah, I did a little bit of that kind of thing in India. I was in India like in middle school, um, early high school too. Yeah, early high school as well.
Yeah.
And they in India there's like a huge black market for like everything, right? Like there's tons of just stuff that fell off the back of a truck style kind of things, and it just pops
Yeah.
up in a shop, you know. So there was this one market we would go to that was like underground, and it was almost exclusively this kind of stuff. It was either like knockoff goods or stuff that seemed just really too cheap to be true, you know, so it was probably stolen or whatever.
Yeah.
Or a lot of the way this stuff works in places where they actually manufacture it is like the people that work in the factories, they make stuff that, you know, that is like the official quota, but then they just continue to make stuff and like give that to their cousin or whatever, and
Yeah.
then they just sell that for themselves, you know?
That's smart.
So yeah, like in Thailand, I used to buy clothes like $1 for a shirt that would be like 40 or whatever in the
Yeah.
store, you know.
Damn.
So in India, they also had like pirated movies and video games and stuff, and this was back in like PlayStation 2 era or whatever. So um, you kind of had to. It wasn't so easily like downloadable and all that kind of stuff, you know. So getting the actual pirated CDs was worth the trouble.
Yeah.
So me and my friend, we would go to this place like every week or 2 weeks or so and pick up a bunch of movies and video games that people would want. We'd get switchblades and lighters because those were like the things that people would want, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we would just sell them to people at school. Like we found a locker that wasn't being used and just bought a lock for it and just kept all our stuff in there. So like if they ever searched our lockers, which they did a couple times. They just never found anything.
Wow. Yeah.
That eventually like turned into like a little bit of like hash and stuff. In India, they don't do weed; they do more like hash, or at least back then.
Oh yeah.
So upgraded the shop a little bit, but it kind of got a bit of a pain in the ass because like people just kind of like, I don't like dealing with the people coming to you all the time and like, oh, I want some of this, I want some. Like, shut up! I already got my money out of you. You know, go enjoy your game or whatever.
Yeah, that's why I figured. That's what I figured out pretty quick too. When I went into like other stuff was, I don't want people to come around my house. Like, I don't want people always bothering me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured out like I probably want to work with who's doing like local distribution, I guess you would call it, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, so that was more dealing with, you know, I mean, it was tons of people you would deal with. Because at first I did start out like, you know, it was actually a lot of hash here too. I mean, I can talk about that.
Pretty. I think that's the way it is in a lot of like European countries and in like Asian countries and stuff. I think the United States and like the Americas, I guess in general, are like the real big, like on the weed aspect of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hash is like it's harsher. Like it's
yeah, and you got to mix it with
it's
tobacco.
higher.
That's the thing.
Yeah. So I smoked a lot of that as I think I started when I was 14 or something.
Mm-hmm.
I would smoke, and but yeah, I started, you know, like either I would hand stuff to someone, like you know, just do a transaction with someone where I had whatever, like hash, give me money, I give them hash, like, or I would be like a middleman kind of thing. And I would just never tell them who I'm getting it from, because that's the way you stay, you know, taking the, you know, whatever $15 you put on top of the price.
Yep.
So, but no, but it pretty quickly turned into. I was dealing with some people. Like, this is something I've I think I mentioned to you before, maybe. But I was dealing with some people, and they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna go see this guy." It's like, all right, and so we get in there, go down in a basement on his house, and there's these guys sitting down that I don't recognize. But I'm with my friend. Like, I know one of the guys. He knows the other guys, right? But they open up this he like opens up this box that's like, I don't know, like a moving box kind of.
Like a cardboard box?
Yeah, like a cardboard box, right.
And what do these guys look like?
These guys, I mean, they're pretty scary looking, like, you know, like cross under one eye and things like that, you know? Like,
okay.
I was like, all right, you know.
And this is like their place or something, or?
Yeah, it was their place. And my guy introduced me, and the guy really looked me up and down and was like, "What's up?" He's, you know, no pleasantries or anything.
Yeah.
With these guys. And yeah, they open up the box, and it's full of pills, right? Like, from the bottom to the top is like blister packages. What are those called? Like the the stuff with the aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Like just full of pills, just stacked all the way up. And they were like, "Yeah, we're getting into this now." And I remember just having this feeling of like, this guy doesn't like me. Like I could tell the guy didn't like me.
Yeah.
Probably because I was
know you.
Yeah, he doesn't know me, and I'm in his house, and he's got his homie there. So I'm in his house. I don't know him. I just saw, like, what I just saw makes me an accessory to, like, doing like 15 years or something.
Yeah.
So that was like just a really tense moment, because it was also a moment where I realized, like, I can't back out of this. Because if I back out of this, who's the last guy? Who's the last guy? Who's the last new guy they saw that wasn't supposed to be around? Like, if anything goes wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
you're the loose end.
Yeah. That was a real moment of like, I might be in too deep, but there's also, there's no going back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy how that just can happen like that. Like you feel like you got a routine going, like you're comfortable, you're in your safe zone, you kind of know the people you're dealing with, your supplier and stuff. And then one day your buddy just says, come with me, I'm going to this guy's place, and then boom, there you are.
Yeah. And then things are real serious, like no smiles.
Yeah. There's no interview for the promotion.
No, but yeah. Things moved on, though, pretty smoothly from there until I actually, like, after a while, I'd been doing stuff with those guys for like a while. I just dealt with my friend, and then I didn't really see those guys anymore, because I figured either they didn't want me around anymore, or I don't know. Honestly, that's probably what it was. Like, didn't want an additional person around.
Yeah.
So I would just deal with my friend, and then it was back to kind of like being normal. It was cool, and but there's a lot of stuff associated with, like, just kind of like having an alternative lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
in a way, or whatever, where it's like part of the culture of that was like, yeah, we get fucked up, and if we're hanging around people and anybody talks out of turn, anybody says the wrong thing, it's got to be a fight. It's got to be So it was a lot of violence. Like, in general, my adolescence, particularly, is, I just think about, like, just like the tension constantly of, like, when's something gonna pop off. Like, 'cause it could be any time. Like, yeah, it was crazy. Actually, I saw something that I think is funny, but it's just the visual was so goofy. I was just standing outside of a store smoking a cigarette, and I saw a guy walk up to some guy I vaguely knew. And he was like, "Hey, are you so and so?" And he's like, "Yeah." And the guy just knocked him in the face, and he punched him so hard that his, like, New Era cap flew off, and he flew out of his shoes. So that was funny, but things got, like, too serious with that stuff too. Like, I have huh?
I was just gonna say this. On the first episode, we talked about the "You Can't Win" book and how they have, like, the Johnson family, and that's like it's kind of like loose network of like underworld types, like petty criminals and homeless people and all this sort of thing. And it's like they have their own codes, their own kind of way of resolving issues, and
yeah, for sure.
You're supposed to do certain things. You're not supposed to do other things, and that's like the cost of if you want to check out of like the, I don't know what you call it, like the normal world, then, or if you're forced out of the normal world, then this is the world that it has its own rules.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there wasn't as much of a structure of that, but there's definitely like heavy elements of that. Of course, like the main things being like you don't tell on people,
Right.
and like you don't you don't fuck somebody's ex, you know, just stupid things like that. It's like, but the main thing was solutions. Like conflict solution was very straightforward. Like, got a problem, two people have a problem, what's going to happen? They're going to fight. He's going to bring all his dudes. The other guy's going to bring all his dudes, and they're going to fight.
But that ends it, right? Like after the fight, it's done.
Usually, yeah. Unless somebody had hurt feelings about, some people are sore losers.
Mm-hmm. So there's like there's a big element of like honor or something.
Sort of, but like, yeah, like basically, if you get fucked up, then yeah, just take it. Just take it like a man. Maybe hit him back some other time, but like, take your beating, and then although like these rules apply differently. So say if I was gonna go hit somebody that was like well respected and stuff, I have a good example of this. There was a guy that was like well liked around like the neighborhood, well respected. Wasn't much of a G or anything. He was just like kind of just knew everybody, but people liked him, and he would hang around. And what was big around the neighborhood was bikes. So I'm talking like bicycles. But like really tricked out ones with the crazy shocks and like all this stuff, like trial bike stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
There was a big market for like parts for that stuff, like a big black market for that stuff, because me and a friend, like we went across town, and we would like go to like richer neighborhoods, and we like steal expensive bike stuff and then go back and sell it, like where we live.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy had a really nice bike, like probably before people turned 18, and then it turned more into like cars and stuff. It was mainly the bikes. That was like your, what you're showing up to whatever the gathering was. It would usually be like they had like kind of like a rec center for us, for like the people that went to school where I went to school, and people would kind of congregate around there. Anyway, he had his bike stolen by this one guy, and I mean, rule one is like, yeah, you don't steal stuff from people from someone who's anyone, basically. But you especially don't steal from this guy. So
because he's like a tough guy, or because he's just like everyone likes him, or
it was a combination, but it was mostly just like it was mostly like people just liked him a lot, and he was a tough guy too. I mean, but Yeah, people just had a lot of respect for him. But then the guy who stole it, he was like, he didn't know that it was that guy's bike. And then he figured it out, and he was like, figured out a way to return it peacefully. Conflict negotiation.
That's funny.
And the big guy, he was actually like, all right, just bring it back and we're cool. Like, I don't want anybody to do anything to you. Like, you didn't know. It's fine. Just bring it back. And if it's still in one piece, like, you better not have broken anything on it. But, bring it back and it's fine. Well, he might have forgiven the guy and just gave him a pass, basically. But everybody who knew him, everybody around him, all these guys were still pissed about it. So there was this barbecue. I was up on a hill that people used to go to. And the guy who had stolen the bike showed up there. And man, they beat the piss out of him. Even though he had been forgiven, it was still seen as such a transgression by the people around him that they just they hit him with bats and everything. And
shit.
Oh yeah, they really fucked him up. And
did they ambush him? Like they pretty much set it up as a trap, or was it just kind of like, oh, it's that guy, let's go take care of him, like just sort of spontaneous?
It was like spontaneous. He showed up to a barbecue party where all those guys were hanging out. But the craziest part of it was they held him down so they had guys holding his arms and legs, right? And then they drove a dirt bike over him.
Oh man.
Holy crap.
So that's what he got. Yeah. But that's an aspect of sort of you breaking the code and paying for it. It's kind of an example of that.
Yeah, no kidding. That's
and it didn't matter that that's still been an interesting part to me. Is even though the guy himself was nah, the other guys were nah, we're gonna get him for this.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's like it doesn't matter how the individual feels about it. What matters is the whole social structure kind of maintains itself.
Yeah, I know they talk a lot about that stuff about rap beef. How it's always the guys on the sides who are kind of peripherally affiliated who start the beefs with each other, where people actually get shot and stuff. Where it's not for example, it's not I'm not up to date on rap beefs, but it wouldn't be 50 Cent and Ja Rule. That was the latest beef I could think of. Maybe they weren't directly mad at each other about any particular thing. It was just guys on the sides wanted to. Maybe they perceived a slight and they wanted to. Because some people did end up getting shot in that. Didn't Proof get shot over that?
I don't remember. The beef stuff I had never paid much attention to.
I used to be huge into it as a kid.
So Andy, you were talking about a little bit about the bikes and then the cars and stuff. So is there a car culture there the same as say North America? Does everyone have a car basically, or is it still where you're often kind of you said kind of the periphery of the town or whatever? Does that feel very isolated, or is it I mean while you're a youth there or something like that, you have to take a bus to get deeper into the town, or do you know what I mean? Are people driving all the time or no?
Well, a lot of people have cars, but also another thing about being out in the projects is a lot of the time you don't have it's expensive to get a license.
Okay.
Like that's pretty frequent for like my friends who are like middle class. They would get that for their 18th birthday, like pay getting your license because it's like about $2,000 American.
Wow.
Oh wow.
So now that's like how I can always tell. Like if I see somebody that's like 25 on like a Vespa, like a scooter, I'm like, that motherfucker is a criminal.
Do people just sort of drive without licenses since it's so expensive?
It happens, but a lot of people just don't get cars, or they find that one friend who has a car or whatever.
Yeah.
That was like my thing. I had like one friend who had a car.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it kind of worked in when I was like in college and stuff. It was like the one guy had a car, and I think part of that was just the cost of insurance.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's insurance, it's gas, it's like repairs. Is really like you got to have money for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a lot of people just like like scooters are huge here, or were in my teens. Uh, they would be called EU like regulation scooters. So that could be, or like EU mopeds.
Mm-hmm.
They're allowed to go 50 miles an hour. You got to take a few classes to like get a license for it, right?
Yeah.
But of course, everybody would just like soup them up and like do a lot of crazy stuff with those too.
Yeah.
Which was cool. That was a huge culture actually.
So for the weather, sorry.
No, that was just it. It's a big thing.
So the weather there, I mean, you're talking about bikes and mopeds and stuff. Is the weather get like? Is it, you know what I mean? I mean, I only know the stereotype of Sweden where I kind of compare it to maybe northern parts here or like here, where it's like snow all the time. I mean, in the winter it's like gets pretty bad. So you can, I don't know, like I find that interesting, this idea that like, yeah, just like, is it compatible with having these bikes and all this stuff, or is it only certain types of the year you just feel like very isolated or something? I don't know.
Well, no, yeah, that is the thing, because winter is long. So, like for example, it's what it's almost April, let's say. So, and there's still snow up to my window. I'm on the ground floor, but still, like outside my window, there's snow all the way up to it. So, like, yeah, it is kind of it's a seasonal thing. But we would actually, when I was riding BMX and stuff with some of my friends, we would ride out to this underground parking garage because it was the only place where there wasn't snow.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking like, I don't know. Yeah, I found like, is there even a bus system there for like, you know what I mean? Like, is there like a, you know what I mean? Anything like that, or where it's public or?
Oh yeah. There's a decent. It's gotten better over the years. It was not as good as it is now, and it's still a little bit lacking. The bus system, which the main problem being that like if you live between two stops in certain areas, that can be a pretty long walk and stuff like that. But
so did you leave that area much at all? Like, I mean, you talked about a little bit about regional kind of trips, but did you ever like say go to Stockholm or?
I went to Stockholm to visit my relatives, not really, like we wouldn't go there on a lark or anything.
Okay. And what about like internationally? Did you ever leave Sweden or?
Yeah, I've been to. Let's see, because I went to my aunt was some kind of big shot in an air cargo thing in Luxembourg.
Oh yeah.
So we visited there once because she bought we got like they paid for our vacation and stuff. It was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to see I got to see parts of France and Belgium and
Mm-hmm.
Germany. So that was cool. I was in an IKEA in Belgium, and it was exactly the same as the one I was in Stockholm. And I was like, "This is messed up. This is
Probably
tripping
the
me out,
same as the
man."
ones over here too.
Yeah. No, it's literally like I think they literally have the same they have the same layout. They just copy paste it like The Sims.
Sure.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
That stuff is really weird. It's supposed to make you feel like, I think, comfortable or familiar when you go into them.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a town you've never been in and you're just like, okay, well I know IKEA or I know Burger King or whatever, and you go in there, it's all the same as what you're used to. But
Yeah.
that makes it feel like uncanny, you know? It makes
Yeah,
it
like a rat trap or something for humans.
or some
Like
weird like dream world. I don't know. It makes me feel like it's not quite real, you know?
Yeah, it makes me think of like Roman cities or something, how they all had the same layout everywhere, so that they could
oh yeah.
administer the same. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now that is an interesting part because it's like, yeah, I get this feeling of it's not familiarity. It's just like I'm being set up.
Yeah.
I'm in Belgium, not Stockholm. What's going on here?
Sure. Yeah.
No, but yeah, there was pretty limited regional travel. It was I mostly stayed for the last. I moved away from the area I grew up in actually, but like I eventually, I like completely distanced myself from everybody that had anything to do with crime and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But still, for the past, I don't know, 10 or 12 years, give or take, I've been in the same, probably like 20, like 10 or 20-mile radius.
Yeah.
Probably smaller than that, like 10, probably 15 maybe.
Yeah.
I just stayed put.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother thing when you leave like a kind of crazy life.
Yeah.
And then you got to go back. You got to do something normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a whole like none of the skills I have apply to like working at the factory. Like
Sure.
they just don't.
Learn to code.
Yeah.
Learn to code. That is the solution. Actually, my friend who I grew up like same neighborhood as me. He learned to code because he's just like into computers like that, and he's getting paid so much money now, and he buys me like games on Steam and stuff. He's treated me to a lot of stuff because like he knows the struggle. Like we grew up together.
Yeah.
I was wondering how you're always playing these things, and every time I see you on Steam or whatever, it's like you're playing this new thing. I'm like, how the fuck? Like,
oh yeah, my friend's he helps me out a lot with that stuff because he knows like, yeah, no, that's a funny thing. He was also like the person because he's not crazy and he's not like he didn't want to do all this crazy stuff like like beat people up and sell drugs and he just wanted to like chill out, watch anime, like play video games. So like I would kind of like hang out with him more and more because I was like, I was feeling really burnt out. I was feeling very stressed all the time with, because you're feeling the stress of like, is somebody gonna fuck me up? Somebody might kill me. Somebody, the cops might take me. All the stresses. And then I was like, nah, man, this is the life right here. When I would hang out with him, and he'd be like, hey, man, you want to see something? You want to watch an anime? And I'd be like, all right, sure. and just put it on. And that's how I got really into like a lot of like like nerdy stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
That's how I figured out how I liked it. It's like my friend showed me a ton of it, and I was like, "Yeah, this is cool. I like it." And just
cool.
sitting here like drinking soda, watching anime is a lot better than
Yeah, sure.
yeah, because I was just so done with like, even though like I could have. That's the ultimate thing. Is like it was not worth it because I made pretty decent, like pretty good money, I would say, at points. It would be kind of, it would be kind of sporadic influxes of cash,
Mm-hmm.
But nah, that was the thing. I figured out like it's not worth it. It's
Yeah.
not worth the cost because like, and that comes back to the whole idea of like you can't win. Like, I think.
Yeah, you can't win that game, right?
Yeah.
No, no. Oh God, no.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like peace of mind it's almost like it's everything. Like it's obviously not
Yeah.
everything, but it really is. I mean, like, what are you going to do with all this money? Let's say you figured it out and you got a little, hustle going that's making you a good amount of money, and you even got like all your, all the angles covered. No one's going to come after you. You got everything sort of sorted out. But like, if you don't have just a calm when you're not working or when you're done with everything, if you can't just sit back and relax and forget about everything, then what's the point? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like yeah, exactly. Cuz peace of mind, that's exactly why I like why I got out. Yeah. And it was specifically two incidents which when I talked about it to people who know more than me, and when I started to analyze my feelings about some stuff a bit more, it was like someone said to me, "It sounds like maybe you're dealing with like something post traumatic," and I was like, "Yeah, maybe,"
Yeah.
because I do have I guess yeah, I do have like hypervigilance. I have a problem with that. I've read up on post traumatic traumatic stress since I do fit like like having flashbacks and
Yeah, that sounds
shit
like it.
Yeah.
like like I hear like I like if I get very stressed I'll start hearing sirens and like it's yeah.
You have problems with sleep? Like, do you wake
Oh
up
yeah.
easily and then you're just like adrenaline going, like you're just on?
Yeah, I have I've had like a long time sleeping pill addiction because uh I mean it's legal. Like I take them prescribed, but I think like if I had never been in well, it was particular situations, but the situation in general, my life in general, was very stressful. It was like maybe I wouldn't need a shrink or anything, because I do. I'm trying to get back into that stuff now, like seeing if I can maybe fix what's at the root, so I don't have to deal with as much uh, brain problems, I guess. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, man, we're rooting for you here.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. Yeah, no, yeah, it's been going better, and but it was like so like I'm sort of debating whether I should talk about. Um, I can talk about one thing here that was a major that was majorly stressful. I was selling a little you know on the side. I was getting it from this one guy. I would just sell it and make money. It was good. It was a good side hustle for a while. But I never liked uppers, so I wouldn't take much of the problem myself, like if any, because I don't like being all amped up and stuff. Because I'm already amped up enough as it is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I did this deal with a few fellas. It was for a larger amount, and so I did. I went in wherever I went, you know, and did the deal. Went home, went to sleep. It was pretty late. Then I wake up and I have about 50 missed calls, like 30 texts, like my phone's just been blowing up all night, apparently.
They loved it.
Yeah.
No, oh man. And so then the whole next day I spend mostly on the phone because the guy keeps telling me, you got to come out here and talk to us. You got to come to this place and talk to us. I'm like, yeah, fucking right. I'm going to go there. You know, I'm not showing my face. Yeah. They're like, it was pure baking soda. Like, yeah. Just not even just very stepped on. It was straight fucking baking soda.
You knew that?
No. I didn't know that, but like I said, I don't like uppers. I hadn't tasted any of it.
And how did you find that out, though?
How I found out? Because he told me.
Oh.
And they were not happy about it. And yes, I was negotiating for basically my life that day. And even like, this is how crazy it was. Like, I figured best possible thing I can do in this situation, because these were some scary people, like, you know, they'd done some things before, and not to me, but I knew what they'd done to other people. So I was like, best thing I can do here is if I can just get, because it was mainly one guy. I was like, if I can get this one guy to calm down enough that he will accept at least just me just giving the money back. Like, maybe I keep like a little bit, I guess if it's like, I don't know, like car insurance. When you ding your car, you got to pay a little bit.
Man, you're crazy, dude. Just give them the money. Are you crazy?
but yeah, I was like, all right, I'm gonna give him money back. But here's the thing. Like, there was because that's a major breach of kind of a code too, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, rip people off. So they were real ready to, like, fuck me up.
Like, I mean, you can't even act like it was just bad stuff because, like you said, it's 100% baking soda. So that's just pure.
Yeah, because that's the situation I had to get to with the guy. Was like, no, I got ripped off too. Don't you see this? Like, yeah, and basically I had to. That was a very stressful situation, you know, because it was one main guy that I dealt with, but then it was all his crazy friends too.
Yeah,
and I knew. You know, like I've seen before, you can get forgiven by one guy, doesn't mean everybody forgives you. And so I had to really get it through to him that I had really been ripped off, and I wasn't trying to rip anybody off, because what could I gain from that? You know, like we see each other all the time, like you would have known, you know. So eventually he came to his senses and I agreed to meet. But even then he was like, hey man, I got to show you something in this alley. I was like, I'm not going in there. We can talk right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he like, he's a bigger guy. He got like gave me a couple, like he punched me a few times, kicked me a little bit, but in the end it was fine. Like he didn't beat me up. He just like kind of like he would just say stuff and then just kind of like punch me in the shoulder and like he was mad.
Yeah, you got to let him kind of do a little bit so he doesn't feel like a bitch, basically.
Yeah. And that situation was terrible.
Yeah.
And then another one was the other one was a situation. Let's say I heard it from a guy. All right. I heard it from a guy.
Yeah, okay.
It was a situation where some people were going to retaliate against something that had been done to one of their people. Something serious. You got stabbed. And this guy, when texts start going around, it's kind of like this was before social media or anything. So texts go around, like where are these people at, and they find them. So found them where they were at, and then a dude rolls up in a car, and this guy just hears, just bang, 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 and like, it lights up and shit.
Guns? Or banging? Or?
Yeah. He, the guy who was retaliating shot the guy, the offender, or whatever.
Uh-huh.
He shot him like 7 times or something. And so that was like a crazy situation, especially because like this guy that I was talking about that mentioned it to me, he didn't even know anybody was going to have a gun or anything,
Mm-hmm.
It was all, things like that will stick with you.
Yeah, some people are crazy, man. They just want an excuse.
Oh yeah, that was a big thing actually that people would do just because they're bored.
Yeah,
would do
looking
this.
for a fight, looking for a reason to let out some aggression.
No, literally, this is what they would do. They would stand like, you'd see like 6 dudes on a porch or whatever, or there were like public benches everywhere, stuff like that. They would yell something out, and if you responded, or if you just said like "what," they would just come up to you and act like you had said something or done something,
Yeah,
and they would beat your ass. Like that was that was the scheme.
yeah, that's sad, man. That's like, caged animals trying to assert their dominance or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's getting back to that like monkey brain stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it really is, and I do feel like that is what, like, I've tried to sort of like look at my own psychology in like a more intelligent way, like why I respond to certain things in certain ways. Like I've been like, so like I have like aggression problems, and I always have, but they were exacerbated by like violence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it like, because what you feel when you feel rage is you feel you want like to unleash something, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you do, it doesn't feel like, I don't know, like uh, to me at least, it doesn't feel good, really, because you just get more pumped up and you mess some guy up, whatever, and then you're like, but then your adrenaline's still pumping and you're still feeling like, I think all it does is reinforce that in your brain to be like, all right, go act like a dumb animal, like, because you have this impulse now.
Yeah.
And it makes it hard to be like I'm not an aggressive person in the way, like, I wouldn't fly off the handle and slap somebody in the face or something now, but I still deal with, like, I don't know, it's like residual, some kind of, like, I feel like it's like a residual of my old self, you know, like,
Yeah.
like in certain situations where I'll just, like, be thinking to myself, like, man, why are you letting this guy talk to you this way? Even if it's like, you know, somebody that might be able to, like, get my life going in a positive direction or something,
Yeah.
you know, maybe offering something, I feel like, man, this guy's a fucking punk, man. You should fucking rob his ass. Like,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Yeah, I have some kind of damage, I guess. Guess you would call it.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you've come a good ways since, you know.
Absolutely. I used to be a complete animal. No, like, for seriously, I was not a good person at all. And I'm glad that I've taken, feel like I've taken a lot of steps towards being just like, I mean, I want to do, like, ultimately, I want to do some work to correct, like, these kinds of behaviors in myself, but not only that, but I want to give back to maybe to, like, the community that I was raised in. Maybe try to prevent people from having this kind of life in the future. That would be cool, I think.
That would be really cool. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's the reason God puts you through these things, you know? You kind of go through a situation so you can help other people out of it.
Yeah. But then I think about, like, when I was in school and they would usually just bring in, like, somebody who was an alcoholic. And be like, hey, don't be like me. But
I always wondered about that, man, because it's like, well, you seem to be doing okay. You got this little gig going doing talks at school. Maybe I could just do that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I could for sure. They could. I mean, if they're hiring, man, I would go up there and talk about, you know, drink until I pass out at noon. Because I used to be a bad drinker too, and glad I gave that up. We didn't even really get into addiction.
Yeah.
Well, we can maybe get into that on another episode or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty open about that stuff. That's I would say that's the two things in combination are what ultimately is what really messes you up.
Yeah.
Of, like, having sort of tough stuff happen around you at the same time as you're destroying your brain.
Yeah.
They kind of feed into each other too, huh?
Oh, of course, yeah. Big time. I feel like I talked a lot about myself.
No, but we really appreciate it. I mean, it's such a nice, to hear your, your life stories and stuff. It's really, it's nice that you're able to share that with people. I don't know, in a very kind of, nice, like you, I don't know, you're a good storyteller too. So I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I always just kind of felt like it was just like, well, not out of the ordinary, but then I was like, well, wait a minute, some of this stuff is pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess it's that feeling I have of always being like, nah. I was raised to, never think you're shit,
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think is good in general, to be like, don't get a big head, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, humility is a good thing, but it's also you can go too far to the extent where you're sort of like, ignoring reality, that like, oh wow, this is something unusual, or this is remarkable in some kind of way.
True.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
So
in some ways, I feel that way. I feel proud of myself that I speak English at the level I do,
Mm-hmm.
and I never even went to high school.
Yeah.
Like I like some things I do feel proud of.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But
yeah, I mean,
it's hard for me to take a compliment. I guess I'm saying in a roundabout way.
well, I think this has been a good introduction to you at the very least. We do plan on having you back. I definitely, both Donald and I both thought of you almost immediately to be the first guest, because you really
Oh,
sort
for
of
real?
have. Yeah, man, you have a good you have very interesting stories to tell. You've had an interesting life, and I think you sort of really fit into the whole "you can't win" thing. So,
Oh,
um,
well, thank you. That's cool.
yeah, we hope to have you back regularly. We'll see what the rabble thinks about you. Hopefully,
They're
they
gonna be
enjoyed it
like,
as much as we have.
are they gonna be like, they didn't let Don or Tom get a word in edgewise.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's better.
Yeah.
I wanted to read this review that we got.
Oh yeah.
This was posted on the Razone, which is a website that Donald and I both used to go on. I don't know. Do you still go on there, Donald?
Yeah, I check in with them.
Okay, I have been banned or whatever from there for years now, I think. So they don't like me very much. They're like kind of very far left, like tanky communist type guys.
Oh
So
yeah, I
yeah,
was
let me
on
just.
there.
Sorry.
Oh, yes, sorry. Well, yeah, I was on there.
Oh, you were on there? I didn't even realize that.
For a very brief period, just in the Scandinavia thing. Like I would post in the threads where people speak Swedish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I just shout outs to who? Snigelfarfar? Yeah.
Swedish is so ridiculous to me. It sounds ridiculous. Anyway, let me read this thing. It's a pretty negative review, but I kind of agree with some of the things he says. So, first episode, they were kind of getting their feet under them. Second episode was pretty much better. Third episode was tough to stomach because it was about politics, which means the listener is subjected to Fat Tom. Okay, so they're calling me Fat Tom. This is kind of a running joke on the Razone that I'm like hugely obese and stuff like that. Uh, that's not actually true, but it's just a joke. So, which means the listeners are subjected to Fat Tom's overwhelming nihilism and defeatism on that subject, along with his barely concealed scorn for everyone who actually cares, upon whom he's projecting this tremendous cynicism that it's a hobby or a phase or an identity. That, for instance, people don't actually care about abortion, or that because the U.S. is unlikely to actually invade Venezuela or Iran, people that object to those things are being performative or deluding themselves, and so on. Man, that was a long sentence. It's just heaping portions of contrarianism and superiority as it relates to people that are or were in his social and political circles online. But I guess I knew that about Fat Tom going in, and as someone who's had long-term, deeply held political beliefs, I meant to be challenged on these things by this episode. I did not feel like it ever engaged with someone like me remotely honestly, however. I believe things, but I don't use the things I believe to define myself, even as much as Tom does with Islam. I'm also not encouraged by the description for episode 4, which looks to be another heaping of being scolded for caring. Sorry, Donald. Hopefully episode 5 will just be shooting the shit about baseball. Yeah, so I think he's right that I am pretty nihilistic and defeatist about politics and stuff. I guess I am a little cynical, and I do kind of describe maybe unfairly that um, maybe I just wasn't clear enough, because I think I was specifically talking about people who do use this thing as kind of like a hobby or a phase or identity, and I think it's a little bit silly to say that they're like aren't huge numbers of people that's what it is for them. Obviously, there are people who do quote like care about politics, and that actually means that they do like they actually do things in the world with that. But I kind of doubt that this person is actually one of those people, to be honest, just because they're from the zone and that's almost like their thing. The other thing is like he says that this episode or whatever is supposed to challenge people, and it definitely, I don't know, but at least for me, I'm never trying to challenge anybody when I'm saying something. I'm just sort of thinking out loud, and I'm actually happy to be criticized and to have like a different point of view or counter argument come my way. That's actually one thing that I really wanted to sort of have with this podcast, is to have people hear what I have to say and then tell me why I'm stupid for thinking that, so that I could, change my mind about it. Because I don't know, I would love to be pointed out about what I'm wrong about, and then kind of find, even if I don't necessarily just totally agree with the person that is disputing what I'm saying, maybe I can just fine tune my thinking about something, or it'll bring something to light that I hadn't noticed before. So yeah, I mean, episode 4 was another kind of politics type of episode, so he made the right choice in skipping that one if he kind of gets triggered by that stuff. But yeah.
Well, what I think about part of that criticism is like Tom's cynical about politics. I was like, yeah, but who isn't?
People on the zone.
I mean, it's good to, I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay. Well, I guess thanks for coming on, Andy, and appreciate you joining us.
Oh, thank you, man. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, so as usual, dear listeners, if you have questions for any of us, including Andy, please send them in to Donald's Curious Cat, or you can send them to the podcast Twitter account, which is @YouCan'tWinPod. I will be tweeting on there regularly, and you can just kind of send in, either you can direct message it to the account or just reply to any tweet on there. We'll see it, and we'll try to bring your questions up on the show. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Wow. Relax. 227. I nickname everything, nickname Moochie. My dang Mary Jane and my big chain Julie. A deuce is a split, a baby is a Stewie. A kilo is a brick, a quarter is a cutie. If you telling you a snitch, county is the Skadooski. A sentence is a bit, the prison is the hoopski. A shooter is a goonie, flick is a whole clip. On some motion picture shit, take you to see a movie. A square is a Lucy, a pistol is a throwaway. On a good day, hey, you can call me Juicy J. You a fake nigga, US, PA. Polo with 2 men on a horse, that mean you niggas